So when you think of Florida, you don't always think about geology, but there's actually some really cool geology here. In fact, it's called karst topography, and that leads to things like sinkholes like this one that we're going to get into in just a minute. Devil's Den is truly a window back in time. The sedimentary rock found at Devil's Den is part of the Ocala Limestone Formation that was formed about 34 million years ago during the Eocene epoch, when the area was a warm, shallow marine environment. Many of the fossils found in the limestone are from echinoderms like sea urchins, foraminifera, and mollusk shells. Over time, sea levels would rise and fall in correlation to climate changes related to a series of ice ages. Over the years, water from rain and runoff percolates down through the porous limestone, forming the aquifer. This slightly acidic water dissolves the limestone, causing cracks and crevices to expand into wider tunnels and caverns. Sometimes those caverns collapse, forming sinkholes. In the case of Devil's Den, there was a smaller solution hole that was described as a tight fit for humans to crawl through. It was enlarged in the 1990s when the dive site was built. Although the specifics are difficult to pin down, the opening into Devil's Den Cave appeared sometime in the late Pleistocene, around 8,000 to 9,000 years ago. Inside the cave, scientists have recovered a variety of Pleistocene animal remains, including mastodons, ground sloths, camels, and horses. These fossils may have been related to human remains and artifacts that were also found at the site. It's important to note that we were not cave diving and only ventured in areas where we could clearly see light from the surface. The camera makes the dive look a lot darker and deeper than it really is. Our maximum depth was only about 40 feet, and the cavern only goes down to about 50 feet at its deepest point. But for a little while, it kind of feels like we're truly exploring part of Florida's ancient geologic past deep underground. As we descended a little deeper, it really did get dark. We were using our dive lights to shine around and look at that creamy limestone all over. I really wanted to find an area to investigate to try and see if I could find those Eocene dated marine fossils embedded in the limestone. As we were looking around, it was really hard not to think of the large geologic time frames going on here. Millions of years worth of calcium deposits surrounded us, and then to think of the Pleistocene animal fossils that were found here and the human remains from early humans that entered Florida, it just really kind of bends the mind a bit. Now I'm really getting close to that limestone, looking for marine fossil evidence as I go around. And I kind of focused on this little recess area and kind of stuck my head in there. And along the back wall there, you could see these sort of round, like puck-like extensions. And those are those fossils I was looking for. Most likely echinoderms, sea biscuits, and sand dollars, things like that. And then soon enough, I found other examples of some mollusks, fragments of shells, things like that, all over. Once I started seeing them, you could kind of see them all over the place. And various different pieces and parts kind of projecting, half buried, half emerging from the rock as you go. And that's, of course, as the limestone gets eroded away, more things become visible. And there's a little fish of some sort swimming around in there as well. Now it was time for one of the swim throughs. I believe there's 2 in the cave, and I only saw the one. And our dive guide told us at the surface, if you don't see daylight on the other end, don't go in. But we did see daylight on the other end, so we went through this really cool crawl space, and it was like pretending like you were cave diving for just a moment, knowing that as soon as you got out of the crawl through, you go right back up to the surface. At the other end of the swim through, we sort of descended again another 5 or 10 feet and looked around and found one of the signs that says no divers beyond this point. It is really important to never ever go cave diving unless you have the proper training and equipment, and that does not include me, and so we headed back towards the surface. So it was really cool to see some of the marine fossils embedded in the limestone, and just think about how many caverns and open spaces in that limestone are all under Florida, not exposed.
Many of the amazing fossils, such as mammoths and other prehistoric animals that were recovered from this site, are actually located at the Museum of Natural History in Gainesville, Florida.
Definitely another trip coming up soon for that, right? So until next time, keep exploring.